Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, political markets are often far more volatile than sports betting markets. Now, I don't care, for purposes of this video, what your political beliefs are. Right? This video is not here to sell an agenda. It's not here to tell you how to vote. Right? Your candidate doesn't have to win the election for you to profit off of gambling on the election. We're only interested in the gambling part here. Now, if in 2006 someone were to suggest to you that you bet that the next president of the United States would be African American, what kind of odds would you have gotten? 1,000 to 1? 10,000 to 1? Understand, the United States is a country that before then had never had a non-white person serve as president of the United States, at least not officially. Right? We'll talk about Warren G. Harding another time. Right? The United States had never had a female serve as president of the United States. Only a very small group, white Gentile males, had ever served as president of the United States. Right? So understand, you would have gotten incredibly long odds. Now, let's say you would have bet $1. We're not talking about taking money away from Junior's trust fund or college fund or your own retirement fund. Let's say you were to bet $1, right? When Barack Obama then gets nominated by the Democratic Party to be their candidate for the presidency, understand you would be looking at getting $1,000 back if Barack Obama won the election. So you'd be able to turn around at that point and say, you know what, I'm going to bet $500 on John McCain. Not because you think John McCain is going to win the election. It's just a math play. Right? The endowment you have with Obama allowed you to then hedge with John McCain. You would have locked in $500 in profit. Right? Think about it. So you, the gambler, always need to be on the lookout, whether it's the stock market, whether it's the betting market. You always need to be on the lookout for these long odds bets that might serve as the crutch for later profitable opportunities. Now, I don't care what kind of dog and pony show a political party puts on to introduce their candidate to the public. Right? I don't care who comes and speaks. It could be war heroes. It could be celebrities. It could be millionaires. It could be the current president of the United States. It could be a former president of the United States. Understand, as a gambler, you have to assess a person's real chances. Now, when your nominee claims to have deleted 30,000 plus emails that she had on the same server as emails that contain state secrets, right? That's the FBI's conclusion, right? To me, that candidate has problems. Right? The door's open. An unsecured email server. What happens if the 30,000 emails pop up later? That could end a candidacy overnight. We've seen spectacular falls from grace. Right? It was less than 20 years ago. Hell, it was less than 15 years ago that John Edwards was the vice presidential nominee of the Democratic Party. Today he's out of politics. Right? Out of politics. Look at what's happening right now in Florida with Grayson. Right? His star has dimmed considerably in a matter of days. Let's go one step further. Anytime your candidate has been known nationally for more than 20 years, and she has a hard time beating in a primary season someone who only recently joined the party for purposes of running for president, you know your candidate's not that strong. Right? Simply not that strong. Right now, Hillary Clinton, incredibly, is a minus 227 to be the next president of the United States. Right? A minus 227 on a candidate who, if these emails are ever disclosed, could be quickly discredited. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Right? Well, the Republican convention was in Ohio. The Republican governor of Ohio, John Kasich, had run for president of the United States. Ohio is a key state in every presidential election. And yet he didn't appear at the Republican convention in his state. Nor did Jeb Bush, brother of a former president, son of a former president, a former governor himself of Florida, another state that is pivotal in U.S. elections. He didn't appear at the convention. The 2012 Republican presidential nominee, Mitt Romney. This is the first convention since Mitt was the nominee. He didn't appear at the Republican convention. Folks, Donald Trump is facing opposition from within his own party. You had guys at the convention, Ted Cruz, appear and not endorse him. Right? This is a controversial pick for president, and let's face it, some of his views are, let's say, far outside the mainstream. Right? I'm guessing many of you watching this video right now in your pocket have a phone that, let's say, might be made overseas. Samsung, LG. Maybe you have an American branded phone with parts that were made overseas. In other words, the economics of the phone only works when it includes foreign parts that are built at a discount to the American wage scale. Right? Donald Trump is acting like he can build a wall. Right? Build a wall to prevent some foreigners from coming to the United States. Right? Is the assumption number one that you can build a wall over the thousands of miles on the southern border of the United States? Or that Congress is going to think about building a wall on the southern border and overlook the obvious racism involved, since no one is talking about building a wall across the northern border? But more importantly, don't we also realize that there are international ramifications? That some countries are going to say, whoa, wait a moment, we don't like your xenophobia. We're friends with Mexico. Right? We have our own profitable trade with Mexico. We're not going to endanger our relationship with Mexico by keeping a friendship with you as you diss Mexico. Right? Donald Trump right now is a plus 130. Plus 130 in betting markets in Las Vegas on being the next president of the United States. Well, let me just say, these are unique times, aren't they? Right? These are unique, just like 2007 and 2008 were unique. Understand, you've had Brexit. Right? You've had the end of the EU as we know it. right? The UK, key member of the EU, said, hey, you know what? We're going to get more of our sovereignty. We actually want government officials who have to answer to the people of the United Kingdom. We're not going to deal with some bureaucracy in some other country. We're going to keep things here, right? UK first. We offer a lot of goods and services. We believe that many people globally want them and that we can be like Switzerland. We don't need the EU's permission to trade internationally, right? Understand right now, in addition to the change of the EU, you have Japan, in my opinion, imploding. Right now they're talking about helicopter money. How much money can you print? Understand, printing money doesn't create wealth. All it does is debase the currency. Think it through further. In this day and age where people are more informed than prior generations, right? My dad was happy reading the New York Times and the New York Post, local newspapers, right? Today, people hop on Google News. They're getting articles from all over the world. Nobody's waiting 24 hours for the next newspaper to come out to read about what happened in the world today, right? People are getting the news as it happens, right? So I'm guessing these tricks central bankers used to use. Hey, let's print more money, right? Maybe it worked in my father's day where you thought, hey, there's more money here, there's more wealth. But today people are going to know, okay, they're printing more money. This means there's going to be more inflation. This means I'm not getting the return on my savings that I once did. Consumers are making quick adjustments, aren't they? I'm not a fan of Abenomics. I believe Japan's imploding. I believe the Italian banking system is imploding. Don't believe me, right? This is 2016. Just Google what I'm saying. I believe Portugal's imploding, right? Understand it's July. By the time the U.S. election goes off, you're going to have things happening globally. Aren't they happening fast already? Hell, in the last few days, Ethereum, the cryptocurrency, has forked, and now you have offshoots breaking off, right? Things happen fast in 2016. The debt, as we know, is unsustainable. Guess what? Mortgages have due dates, don't they? Right? If your savings are denominated in dollars, right, aren't you at risk of the dollars being devalued? Now, against this framework, given that the Democratic Party has a lot of people who walked out of their convention, a lot of people who supported Bernie Sanders, right, and who know that Bernie represents a different set of values than the values held by anyone who would have Kane as a running mate. What I want people to do, the purpose of this video, is to have people look long and hard at the odds right now on Libertarian Party presidential candidate Gary Johnson. Folks, you're getting 100 to 1. Bet $1 to win 100 in profit on Gary Johnson. Now, up until now, the two-party system in the United States has held firm. You've had some moments, John Anderson, Ross Perot, where someone's broken through and has actually appeared at a presidential debate, right? But understand now, today, in this internet era, where people can organize much more quickly, someone can put up a website on Facebook and suddenly have a lot of followers, a lot of friends, right? People are not relying on the 3 or 4 mainstream TV networks for news anymore, right? There's a wealth of news outlets. There are many different point of views. Things that we thought couldn't happen in the past, right? The legalization of marijuana, not for medicinal purposes, but for recreational use. are happening now in different states across the country. Right? I believe that Gary Johnson has a greater than 1% chance of being the next president of the United States. Now, even if that chance is 5%, right, 5%, understand that's 5 times the possibility being assigned to this by Las Vegas. In other words, you have a severe mispricing. There is a possibility, call it a political black swan, that Gary Johnson, who has hit the double digits in polling, gets to the 15% needed to be in a presidential debate. If he's in the debate, I believe a lot of Americans who are upset with Bernie Sanders because they feel Bernie gave in to the status quo, to the Democratic powers that be in the Democratic Party. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised as they go out there looking for a candidate they believe is not going to compromise core values. They're going to be surprised to find that Gary Johnson has a history of challenging his own state legislature and vetoing an inordinate amount of bills that violated his core values. Right? Understand the argument that we need someone with experience, that you can't have a multimillionaire who has never held public office be the next president of the United States. Could be challenged if Gary Johnson makes it to a debate and people realize that he's a 2-term governor, his running mate is a 2-term governor, and that both of their states, right, both of their states did well during their tenures. I'm not here to say Gary Johnson is Jesus Christ. Right? I'm not here to say he's a great politician, he's infallible, he's the answer to all of our problems. I'm not here to say that at all. All I'm here to say is that there's a fluid dynamic taking place in the United States right now, just like there was in 2006, 2007, and 2008, that ended with Barack Obama, an African American, becoming president of the United States. Right? You have a lot of people looking at the Democratic ticket, right? People from inside the Democratic Party, including people also from outside the party. And you have a lot of Republicans from inside the party looking at the Republican ticket who are upset, who are looking for alternatives. Even if they just want to support Gary Johnson short term, to protest their own party's nomination, right? That could get him into the debates, and then the world changes. Right? Go back through American history, you're going to find figures like George Wallace, right, who actually were forces during a presidential election. Right, challenged the orthodoxy. Right now, look at Gary Johnson's numbers in Utah. Right, Gary Johnson might well win that state outright. So, I don't know who's going to be the next president of the United States. I don't. Right, but I just know Gary Johnson has a greater than 1% chance. And I just know that right here, you want to bet at least $1 on him at these odds, right? Make it lottery ticket money, pie in the sky money, money that you expect to lose. The point is simply this. If you wait until Gary Johnson gets in the debates and the odds shift, you're not going to get the value. Think it through further, right? If you get Gary Johnson, and then an opponent emerges to Gary down the road, right? The endowment that you're going to have, knowing that you have the Gary Johnson option covered cheaply, and it doesn't get cheaper than 100-to-1 odds, right, will enable you to bet on the candidate you truly feel is going to be the next president of the United States to hedge the play. Just like you could have in 2008, thrown some money on McCain after having locked in outrageously good odds on Obama early in the political cycle, right? So take a hard look at Gary Johnson, folks. He's a live dog here. I'll even go further. Keep an eye on the people out there with influence who have not yet endorsed a candidate, right? You have many key players out there. Jeb Bush, John Kasich, for example, who haven't endorsed a candidate, right? These are people who've been elected officials who have constituencies. Pay close attention, too, to what the donors have to say, right? If Sheldon Adelson, if the Koch brothers, if George Soros, it's on both sides of the aisle, folks. If someone who is a big-time political donor who you know holds a lot of sway out there, who people are watching, suddenly gives credibility to any third-party candidacy, you need to make sure that you have at least thought about taking advantage of that in betting markets, right? A bet doesn't have to be an end in itself, just like investing in stocks, right? If I don't know if gasoline-powered cars are going to rule the day or electric cars are going to rule the day, I can invest in both if the odds allow, right? Here, when you're getting 100-to-1 on a candidate that has hit double digits in polls already and only needs to get to 15% to be in debates, I think you need to think hard about taking the bet, locking it in at these odds as part of your betting strategy. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you if there's any aspect of this video that you want to challenge, right? If you feel that Brexit wasn't a momentous event, that Japan is doing well, that Italy is thriving, that Portugal is thriving, that there isn't volatility in the world, right? That, you know, we're in the middle of a robust economy and that these status quo candidates are strong candidates, and that Al Gore didn't show up at the Democratic convention because he really did have other things to do that were more important than showing up at a convention for a party in which he was once the Democratic nominee, right? A party for which he served as vice president for Bill Clinton, the husband of the nominee. If you feel that Jeb Bush just had too much going on to appear at the Republican convention and that John Kasich had too much going on to appear for his party's convention in his state, then I hope you leave all of that in the comment section to this video. Everyone's invited. If you're a political operative and you're paid by some special interest group or you're paid by the party and you want to put out spin, go ahead and do so. It's a free country. But understand the comments are going to be met with a level of scrutiny from a more savvy and informed electorate than they would have been 2 generations ago. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. 100-to-1 right now on Gary Johnson. I personally feel that bet is a no-brainer. Not necessarily that he's going to win, but that he certainly has a better than 1% chance of being the next president of the United States. Keep in mind, this is a guy who already has hit double digits in national polls and who is over 20% right now in the state of Utah. Let me hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.